Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we're unpacking an explainer of Reset to Ready. Now, if you're not familiar, this is a profoundly practical restart course, and it's specifically designed for young folks who are feeling, well, disconnected, overwhelmed, or honestly just completely unsure of what on earth to do next. You know that feeling like you've completely stalled out and the rest of the world is just zooming forward while you're glued to the spot? Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We are going to break down how to get unstuck. Not through, pressure or piling on the shame, but through actual, realistic, actionable steps.
So, the big question, where do I start? Man, it sounds so simple, right? But let's be real for a second and acknowledge just how overwhelmingly paralyzing this can actually feel. When you're completely shut down, maybe feeling totally left behind by the formal education system, or you're just deep in isolation, asking where do I start isn't just some basic logistics problem. It is a massive emotional wall. You look at this giant mountain of things you're quote-unquote supposed to be doing, and instead of taking a step, you just freeze, totally freeze. Well, this explainer is all about answering that exact question by radically lowering the barrier to entry.
Because here's the thing. Typical societal advice. It just tells young people, hey, get motivated, work harder, just go apply for jobs. But honestly, that demands high-level action way before the foundation is even built. What's actually needed first, and this is absolutely crucial, is an emotional reset, a dependable daily structure, and some truly realistic options. Think about it. You literally cannot build a house on a shattered foundation, right? So you definitely can't just jump into a career without basic, everyday stability. To really understand who we're talking about here, we need to objectively define this term, NEET. Now, this stands for a young person who is not in education, employment, or training. Look, I know it's a super bureaucratic acronym, but unfortunately, it carries a ton of unfair weight. We really need to strip away the blame and the shame that's so often tied to it. Being NEET, it is not a personality flaw. No way! It's just a temporary status. It's a snapshot of where someone happens to be right at this moment, not some permanent prediction of where they're going to end up.
All right, so here is our blueprint for today. 1. The reality of being stuck. 2. Rebuilding your daily foundation. 3. Essential real-world skills. 4. Finding your next path. And 5. Taking that very first step. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The reality of being stuck. Starting where you are.
Being stuck is not the end of the story. It is so important that we validate that internal struggle. I mean, the heavy burden of comparison, endlessly scrolling, looking at what your peers are doing on social media, that can easily make you feel like your story is already over before it even began. But the profound power of shifting your mindset here is recognizing that taking just one honest, incredibly tiny first step, that is literally all that's required to turn the page to the next chapter. Just one step.
Moving right along to Section 2, rebuilding your daily foundation, routine, energy, and belief.
Now, regaining your momentum does not rely on some massive cinematic montage of self-improvement. It just doesn't. Actually, it relies on tiny, totally manageable wins. We're talking about things like fixing your sleep rhythm, establishing a really simple morning routine, or just learning how to manage those days when your energy is completely at absolute zero. The whole goal here is building consistency without perfection. Seriously, if you manage to just wake up at the same time 3 days in a row, hey, that is a huge victory. We're aiming to reduce overwhelm here, not add to it with totally impossible standards.
And a huge part of that daily foundation is how you actually view yourself. Listen, confidence isn't some magical genetic trait that you're just born with or you're not. It grows sequentially. Step 1, we've got to debunk the myth that confident people never feel fear. That's just fake news. Step 2, confidence actually grows by handling setbacks. Simply surviving a really bad day, that proves your resilience. And step 3, it is all about altering your internal self-talk. If you are constantly talking to yourself like you're the enemy, you're never going to feel ready. Changing that inner voice is a genuinely vital daily habit.
Okay, Section 3, Essential Real-World Skills, Tools for Everyday Life.
Navigating this modern world really comes down to 3 basic pillars. First, communication. Basically, learning how to simply explain where you are to people and figuring out how to ask for help without feeling any shame. Second, digital basics. Writing a clear email, filling out online forms, and knowing how to navigate AI tools safely. And third, money. We're talking the absolute basics of budgeting and, super crucially, avoiding scams. Honestly, you'd be amazed how many incredibly smart people freeze up just because they don't know how to format a professional text message. Breaking adulting down into these 3 basic categories just makes the whole thing feel significantly less terrifying.
Which brings us to Section 4, finding your next path, work, learning, and opportunity. So when it comes to the future, There isn't just one single slice of the pie. A lot of times we get tricked into thinking it's either get a full-time corporate job or absolutely nothing. But guess what? There are multiple valid pathways out there. Traditional jobs are literally just one option. There's also local training programs, there's self-employment, and there's volunteering, which, by the way, is a fantastic, super low-pressure way to build a resume and kind of test drive a field before you fully commit. Taking a non-traditional route is a 100% valid stepping stone.
And let's definitely note that while the human struggle of feeling stuck is entirely universal, the actual application of this framework is deeply, deeply local. It doesn't matter if you're in the UK, Nigeria, South Africa, India, or the US. The core need for routine and confidence is exactly the same everywhere. But the course adapts all the practical elements, stuff like specific job examples, local youth services, and regional money realities. It totally flexes to fit the exact environment that the learner is currently standing in.
All right, the final stretch, Section 5. Taking that first step, the personal next step plan.
To prevent sliding right back into that paralysis we talked about at the very start, you gotta use a simple, highly structured plan. Step 1, you don't choose 5 goals. No, you choose exactly one realistic goal. Literally, just one. Step 2, you map out a 7-day plan to move toward it. And then step 3, you extend that to a 30-day plan. See, by scaling up a single goal this way, you keep your progress totally visible. Because when your motivation inevitably drops, and look, it will, because we're all human, this specific structure is exactly what keeps you moving forward anyway. Reset to Ready does not promise instant success. It promises a real beginning. Guys, that quote is the absolute core of this explainer. This entire journey, it's not about selling some fake overnight transformation where you wake up and suddenly everything is perfect. No. It's about helping someone who has been totally shut down finally feel heard so they can think clearly enough to simply start moving forward again. It's a genuine, honest promise.
This framework we've explored today is presented by LELAIL. They're an amazing organization completely dedicated to helping people feel heard, think clearly, and actually take that next step. You can explore a lot more of their practical support over at the listening room. Now, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to really reflect on, regardless of where you happen to be in your life right now. If you could take just one honest, entirely pressure-free step today, what would it be? Really think about it, and then go take it.